Hello, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Robbins & Morton team. During your safety orientation, you will hear and receive a lot of general information. Information about work rules at Robbins & Morton, and information about the safe work practices required while working on a Robbins & Morton project. This information is vital to your health and safety and to the health and safety of those around you. Robbins & Morton's culture is based on the philosophy that all injuries are preventable and that performing work safely at every project, every day, is key to our long-term success as an organization. We have a simple goal. We want you to go home every day feeling as fit and as healthy as you did when you came to work, free from injury and illness. Your loved ones are counting on this too, and we don't want to disappoint them. Robbins & Morton's vision for safety excellence is to provide a safe and healthy work environment for all who are touched by our business, and a culture of safety commitment to each other. If you ask 100 people what's safety, you will likely get at least that many answers. The goal for Robbins & Morton is to bring everyone to the point of making a personal choice to work safe, because no one comes to work thinking, I'm going to get hurt today. We don't want you to be safe because you'll get into trouble if you're not. We want you to be safe because it's the right thing to do. The purpose of this orientation is to set and communicate goals, share the expectations for working on site, share your responsibilities for working on site, discuss the Robbins & Morton culture of safety, review common construction safety hazards and appropriate controls, and help with any questions you may have. Safety is a value, and that means it won't change. Our commitment to you is that no schedule, profit, or quality issue will take precedence over your safety. You are important. Your personal goals are probably to go home to your family uninjured, make money, be part of a successful project, and enjoy your work. Robbins & Morton's goals for this project are to eliminate accidents, make money for ourselves and the company, be part of a successful project, and enjoy our work. Robbins & Morton is committed to maintaining a work environment that is free of harassment. In keeping with this commitment, we will not tolerate harassment of company employees by anyone, including any supervisor, coworker, vendor, supplier, client, or customer of the company. A few things fair accountability does is ensure accountability is balanced, ensure there is a consistent, impartial approach, helps to make transparent or fair analysis, and encourages coaching and honesty. MUSC is a tobacco-free campus. The City of Charleston's Medical District is also a smoke-free area. See links below for more information. The use of any tobacco product is prohibited by any employee, including faculty and staff, patient, student, volunteer, contractor, or visitor in all buildings, grounds, and spaces either leased or owned by the medical university. Access to the project will be strictly controlled to ensure only those with required training are allowed on site. 12 Seconds to Safety is a safety awareness campaign to further supplement our current pre-task planning process that involves mentally preparing to start a task by asking yourself 12 simple safety questions. This is not a substitute for a pre-task planning meeting required to be completed for each task. For all Robbins & Morton employees, this process must be completed for each task. Before each task, take a step back and mentally think through the 12 questions on the back of the card. Employees who can answer yes to all the questions are adequately prepared to safely complete their assigned task. Employees who answer no or who are unsure about a question must not start the task and ask their supervisor for further assistance. The purpose of the 12 Seconds to Safety is to encourage employees to think in ways that activate and support safe behavior, encourage employees to coach themselves and their coworkers to identify unsafe conditions and exposures, and encourage self-accountability by having employees think about their actions and safety before they start a task. Minimum PPE requirements are a hard hat worn properly, eye protection, leather or equivalent work boot, 4-inch sleeve t-shirt, work pants, hand protection, and your company's rules dictate if they are more stringent. Other PPE may be needed. Fall protection at or above 6 feet, hearing protection above 85 decibels, respiratory protection, chemical protection, additional eye protection, or reflective vest. Head protection is required throughout the project for everyone. Some additional hazards that could cause requirement for head protection are falling objects, overhead work, impact as a result of bumping or striking, electrical work, or flying or swinging debris or objects. Approved head protection includes both plastic and fiberglass hard hats meeting ANSIZ 89.1 standards for Class 2 and 1 only. Metal and cowboy hard hats are not approved. Head protection should be inspected daily for signs of damage and removed from service if found. Some hazards requiring eye or face protection are grinding, sawing, using power tools, high wind areas, mixing materials, splash hazards, cutting, drilling, overhead demo, or wrecking or stripping forms. Ordinary prescription glasses do not provide the required protection. Proper choices include rated glasses with side shields, rated over glasses, rated goggles with corrective lenses. Face shields are used with safety glasses. Face shields must be worn when there is exposure to the face. If materials jam or get hung up, stop the machine and free the machine under direction of your supervisor. Do not try to catch falling materials. Ensure you provide a good workstation. Never put yourself in the line of fire. Use clamps, vices, or similar means to secure materials. Avoid handling sharp materials. When it is not possible to reduce the noise or duration, hearing protection must be provided and adequate for the exposure. Leather or equivalent work boots are required for all workers on this project. Be mindful of hazards when using equipment such as jumping jack tamps, remote-controlled roller compactor, or rigger. Robbins & Morton and subcontractors shall comply with the Occupational Safety and Health Administration standards, also known as OSHA, for construction as it relates to fall protection. Exceptions will not be permitted on this project. Any employee exposed to a fall greater than 6 feet or more must be protected from falls by guardrails, safety nets, or by means of personal fall protection systems. Anchor points must be rated for 5,000 pounds. Consider potential fall distances. 100% tie-off will be used anytime installed fall protection is removed or disabled. Examples of work possibly requiring fall protection are suspended scaffolds, elevated formwork, material hoist flat roof, leading edge work, open-sided floors, work above dangerous equipment, unprotected floor holes, steel erection, or precast cast erection. If you identify a loose or missing guardrail, contact someone who can have it corrected immediately. Fall protection may consist of one of the following: guardrail systems, safety net systems, personal fall arrest systems, or warning line systems. All fall protection must be positive in nature, meaning there must be physical means to prevent an individual from falling. There is a presumption that providing a conventional fall protection system for employees is feasible and will not create a greater hazard, largely attributable to the advances and prevalence of specialized fall protection equipment on the market today. Personal anchorage must be independent of any anchorage being used to support or suspend platforms and must be capable of supporting 5,000 pounds. Your competent person should evaluate your work and choose the correct fall protection system to protect you from falls. Fall protection should be designed to keep you from falling more than 6 feet and keep you from falling onto anything that might cause you injury or harm. All operators must be properly trained. All workers on boom lifts must be secured using a device adequate to arrest a fall or restrain the worker. Your competent person should choose your equipment. In addition to typical requirements, Robbins & Morton has best practices that will be used on site. There should always be an approved barrier between you and any fall hazards. If employees are required to go beyond warning lines, they must be tied off 100% of the time. All scaffolds must be designed, erected, and disassembled under the supervision of a competent person. All scaffolds shall be inspected by the competent person daily, prior to use, and after any changes. Scaffold platforms will be completely decked at all working levels. Ladder access will be provided. Rolling scaffold height shall not be more than 4 times the scaffold's width or by manufacturer recommendations. Never ride a rolling scaffold. All trenches and excavations shall be inspected daily, prior to use and after any potential changes. No employee shall enter a trench without the competent person's approval. Trenches or excavations greater than 4 feet deep require a method of access and egress. Trenches shall have sufficient ladders to ensure all travel distances to a ladder are less than 25 feet. All trenches or excavations 5 feet deep or more require sloping or shoring or shielding. If soil is not visually and manually classified, it must be treated as Type C soil. All soil shall be kept 2 feet back from the edge of the excavation trench. Always follow the manufacturer rules for any protective system. Here's an example of an excavation with inadequate support posts and egress access. In this example, the worker went into the hole to clean out spalling materials. Basically, the hole was caving in. Using hydraulic jacks, the operator can easily drop the system into the hole. Once in place, hydraulic pressure is increased to keep the forms in place. Trench pins are installed in case of hydraulic failure. Only qualified electricians will perform work on electrical lines, circuits, or equipment. Extension and tool cords must be inspected prior to each use. All temporary power outlets will be equipped with GFCIs. When plugging into permanent power, a GFCI adapter must be used and shall be provided by the subcontractor. Welding leads and cords will be hung using insulated wire or equivalent. Keep welding leads off guardrails and stair rails. No exposed conductors. Some examples to help keep exits clear of cords are to run cords overhead, run cords around the perimeter, tape cords down or use cord covers, or use cones for short duration use of extension cord, 5 minutes or less. All cords must be stored and put away after use. Temporary wiring must be installed to facilitate proper cord management. Never run a cord through water. All ladders must be OSHA approved and meet construction standards type 1 or 1A. All ladders must be in accordance with manufacturer's guidelines. Step ladders must be fully opened and locked. Do not use the top or top step of the ladder. Extension ladders may not be separated. Ladders must extend 36 inches above the landing point. Aluminum or metal ladders of any type are not allowed on site. Ladders should be clearly marked with the company names and must be inspected prior to each use. Damaged ladders must not be used. All ladder users must be properly trained. Ladder types will be determined by your competent person. Always ensure you maintain tools, use the right tool for the job, inspect your tools before use, operate according to the manufacturer's instructions, use PPE, and use guards. For powder-actuated tools, the user must be trained and licensed to operate. Ensure you test tool each day before loading to ensure the safety devices are working properly. Wear suitable ear, eye, and face protection. Select a powder level that will do the work without excessive force. Hazardous energy is any form of energy, electrical, pneumatic, thermal, hydraulic, gaseous, or gravity that could potentially cause, through its release, personal injury or property damage. Work on electrical components that requires lockout-tagout will be required on a case-by-case basis. Electricians will be the only ones allowed to work on live or de-energized equipment. Only NCCCO certified crane operators may operate any cranes on this site. Valid annual crane inspection report shall be provided to Robbins & Morton prior to any crane operations. Crane operators maintain full control over hoisting and must obey all operator manual requirements, including wind. Documented daily crane inspection must be performed and in the crane at all times. Cranes will not be brought on site without prior notification and approval. Robbins & Morton has very specific requirements for crane documentation. This process can take from days to weeks to accomplish. Required crane documentation. This involves a third-party inspection, post-crane erection certification, post-crane delivery inspection from a third party, crane operator certification, qualified rigger certification, qualified signal person certification, 3D lift plan with mat cribbing details, critical lift plan, if applicable, and rigging inventory. The crane inspection is not a sticker on the window. It is a written pass-fail document that lists the items inspected, all discrepancies, corrections, dates corrected, and is performed by a third party only. Only qualified riggers shall rig loads. All rigging equipment shall be inspected daily and prior to any lift. Loads shall not be lifted over personnel. Crane operators and signalmen shall utilize horns or whistles to warn sight of impending lift. 100% use of taglines unless greater hazard. Safety latches are required on all hooks. Always stay out of the swing radius of the crane. Make sure there are guard barriers showing swing radius. Only trained or authorized employees may operate vehicles and equipment. Use of seatbelts is required. Mobile equipment that has a restricted rear view must have a working backup alarm and/or a spotter. Never back up without looking. For workers on the ground, always make eye contact with the operator and signal your intention before approaching the equipment. Ensure you always watch out for equipment and know what's above you when coming out of the building. No one is permitted to operate a forklift unless they have received forklift training and have been evaluated using the lift. Training is only good for 3 years. Hot work is defined as any activity that produces excessive heat, exposed heater coils, open flame, or sparks. The area around and below the hot work must be cleared of all flammables and combustibles. All items that cannot be removed must be covered with fire blankets. All floor and wall openings must be protected. A fully charged, inspected ABC fire extinguisher must be located adjacent to the hot work operation. Any fire or discharge of a fire extinguisher must be reported immediately to Robbins & Morton Safety Manager. Failure to do so will result in disciplinary action. Should you need to use an extinguisher on site, please remember the following. Pull the pin from the extinguisher. Aim the hose at the base of the fire. Squeeze the trigger. Sweep extinguishing media back and forth at the base of the fire. Report all extinguisher use to your supervisor. You should provide your own task-specific fire extinguisher. The building's fire extinguishers are for the building. Welding arcs contain ultraviolet light, which can cause eye damage. The spectrum of the welding arc is similar to that of the sun. Welding arcs can be in excess of 3,100 degrees. Do not watch these operations. All hazardous materials on site shall have an SDS on file at the site. SDS logs will be maintained by both R&M and subcontractors. SDS locations shall be made known and available to all employees and at centralized locations. The appropriate MSDS should be reviewed prior to the handling of new hazardous materials. All hazardous materials, including flammable and combustible materials, must be properly labeled and stored in an appropriate container or locker. All containers used to store any material must be appropriately labeled. All chemicals and equipment containing chemicals must be stored in approved areas. Contractors are responsible for removing all unused chemicals from the project site at the completion of their project. Compressed gas cylinders will be secured at all times. All dedicated chemical storage areas for contractors must have safety data sheets available at the storage location. If you are unsure of appropriate storage areas, please contact Robbins & Morton for further direction. A confined space is defined by a space that is large enough and so configured that an employee can bodily enter it. It has limited or restricted means for entry and exit and is not designated for continuous employee occupancy. Robbins & Morton must be notified 24 hours in advance of any confined space entry. Entry into a confined space may require locking and tagging of equipment, process lines, or electrical components. All workers required to enter, attend, or supervise a confined space entry must be trained in accordance with 29 CFR 1926.1200 per project requirements. Before you lift, please consider the following: weight, size, shape, and path of travel. Ensure you bend your knees, lift with your legs, and keep your feet pointed at the load. Avoid twisting. Ask someone for help if needed. Do not attempt to lift beyond your strength. If the load is too heavy or awkward, ask for help. Never lift more than 50 pounds unassisted. Employees must read and adhere to all warning signs, decals, and barricades. Red danger barricade tape is used when there is a potentially life-threatening situation and shall not be crossed. Yellow caution barricade tape is used in areas where a non-life-threatening hazard exists. Caution tape may be crossed once an employee has assessed the danger and can enter without injury. All barricades and signage shall be removed once the activities are complete. Work areas must be kept clear and free of obstructions by material or debris. Clean-as-you-go practices are required and contractual obligations. Materials will not be stored in a manner that will block, restrict, impede, or prevent access to an egress path or emergency equipment. Stairways shall not be used as storage areas. All accidents and incidents must be reported to your foreman and the Robbins and Morton safety manager immediately. This includes near misses, injury or damage caused by construction or non-construction events, injury or damage to the general public, or on-the-job injury but medical attention waived. Subcontractors will be responsible to provide an incident investigation to Robbins and Morton within 24 hours of the incident. All accidents involving medical attention will require that the injured party submit a sample for drug and alcohol screening. A root cause analysis will be conducted for incidents by the project team, and the causes corrective measures share with the project participants. You could be the reason the next injury doesn't happen. One of the greatest errors in incident analysis is believing the work happens just as planned. Effective incident analysis follows the work as it actually happened, not the imaginary straight line. The straight line is never where the work happens. Sources of error are usually system-induced, not personal. To understand human error, you have to stop looking for people's personal shortcomings. Saying what people did or did not do, or what they should have done, does not explain why they did what they did. Why did their actions make sense at the time? This project has a zero-tolerance drug policy. All employees will be drug tested prior to working on site, in the event of an incident, and at random monthly. All R&M employees will sign a drug policy acknowledgement form prior to working on site. All subcontractor employees will be required to follow their company policy or Robbins and Morton policy, whichever is more restrictive. Violations of the policy will result in disciplinary action, including removal from site and loss of the ability to work on any Robbins and Morton job. In the event of an emergency, activate the crisis management plan. Primary notifications will be via radio. Subcontractors will have project radios. Dial 911 for fire, police, or rescue and ambulance needs. Give the dispatcher your name, exact location, and the nature of an emergency. Please inform Robbins and Morton immediately. If you hear 3 short blasts, evacuate to the south lot on the corner of Calhoun Street and Courtney Drive. 1 long steady blast means that it is ready to return to normal work. Each contractor is required to have first aid and CPR trained personnel on site. Each contractor should have a local urgent care facility for worker treatment in the event of an injury. All injuries should be reported to Robbins and Morton's safety manager as soon as possible. Injuries not requiring treatment will still be documented. Access Care is a first call nursing triage service Robbins and Morton has partnered with to provide you with immediate access to a healthcare professional should you become injured while working on the job. Access Care nurses will work with our employees to provide immediate first aid advice, evaluate the necessity of medical treatment beyond on-site first aid, and help guide employees through the process of treatment, transitional duty, and return to work in a manner that eliminates the uncertainty of recovery. Access Care's injury evaluation, first aid instructions, and follow-up should reassure the employee that this course of care is the appropriate course of care. Pre-task meetings will be held to discuss project tasks, the hazards associated, and how we will eliminate the hazard. These will be completed, kept on site, and checked periodically by Robbins and Morton. A site-wide safety meeting will be conducted by Robbins and Morton each week to discuss relevant safety topics. Each subcontractor will also hold a weekly safety meeting with their team. On site, we will perform work in the rain, but we never have to work in lightning. Count the seconds between seeing lightning and hearing thunder. If this time is less than 30 seconds, lightning is still a potential threat. Seek shelter immediately. We know that was a lot of information, but let's put it into practice. Come to the project. See what we're talking about for yourself. We hope through this presentation you are able to catch even some of the excitement that we feel for this project. Come on, let's do this. You'll have to do your part though. Let us know what works, and as important, what doesn't. It's your project. Make it work for you and for Charleston.